Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. There's been a lot of new developments having directly to do with the SEC and their attack on crypto. You may have heard the other day that Robinhood is the latest firm to receive a Wells notice from the SEC, which indicates that, yes, they're going to get sued. Now, technically, the commissioners of the SEC have to vote to approve that, but they're going to get sued. That's going to happen. As far as I'm concerned, it's a virtual certainty. It's just part of the process. And we know we just had this with Uniswap within the last few weeks. What an assault. And we were warning about this, weren't we? Years ago, when the SEC attacked Ripple, and as an extension, all XRP holders, we were warning this isn't just about Ripple. This isn't just about XRP. They're coming for the entire crypto asset class. And a lot of people just thought that we were crazy. Well, we were absolutely correct. So we're going to cover that. Gary Gensler also, he was on national television lying yet again today. We'll talk about that. And then there's this headline from the Crypto Basic. As SEC files new motion, expert sets date for Ripple lawsuit final verdict or settlement. And so let's talk about this. The finality of the SEC v. Ripple case. This thing is coming to a conclusion. And I'll share with you what one expert thinks the timeline is going to be. And it will be sooner than later. I'll just tell you that here right at the outset of the video. And then there's the question of, once that comes, will there be an appeal from either side in this thing, from the SEC or Ripple? But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice. And you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, so here is the headline from Yahoo Finance. Robinhood gets new legal threat from SEC as crypto crackdown continues. Robinhood said it received a Securities and Exchange Commission warning that the trading platform could face an enforcement action related to its U.S. crypto business. The so-called Wells notice that Robinhood got May 4th stated that the SEC staff made a preliminary determination to recommend the action due to violations of registrations as a securities broker and transfer agent. Its stock dropped roughly 1% by Monday's close. I think about what happened with XRP when the news broke that Ripple was getting attacked. Think about how many billions of dollars in terms of market cap were absolutely just eliminated almost instantaneously. And then here you have a drop of Robinhood stock of 1%. And by the way, and I'm not going to read this article, there's a separate article from CoinDesk that you can see in the headline here. This is the following day. Robinhood gains 2%, erasing early losses following SEC Wells notice. And so it's just fascinating to me that it seems to me that part of this is that speculators recognize that the SEC is on the wrong side of history, and I think there's a broad assumption that things are not going to go well in this litigation should it occur for the SEC. That I think well, look what happened to the SEC v. Ripple. Look at all these defeats. Look what happened with Grayscale. People understand that the SEC is on the wrong side of history. They're way overreaching. They don't have the legal ability to do the things they're doing because Congress didn't give them the power. They're just doing this stuff anyway. So I think that's why you're not seeing any sort of devastating drop here. But yes, there will be a lawsuit. You know, if this is a recommendation that was made and these exact 5 commissioners vote on it, there's going to be 2 commissioners that say no, that there shouldn't be a lawsuit. One of them will be Hester Peirce, and then I can't remember the other guy who typically votes the same as his Hester. And then the other 3, including Kim Jong Gensler, they're going to vote to bring this thing. That's a virtual certainty. Anyway, piece continues. Robinhood warned in its disclosure that a potential action from the SEC could mean a civil complaint and a public court proceeding that could end in a fine, a cease and desist order, and other limitations on its crypto activities. After years of good faith attempts to work with the SEC for regulatory clarity, including our well-known attempt to come in and register, we are disappointed that the agency has decided to issue a Wells notice. Robinhood's chief legal, compliance, and corporate affairs officer, Dan Gallagher, said in a blog post. So then there's this post from Vlad Tenev. He is the CEO and co-founder of Robinhood. And so yesterday evening, he shared the following post. Over the last 3 years, we've reached a state of regulatory onslaught that is harmful to American companies and consumers. The SEC's continued attack on crypto, coupled with recent rule proposals like the one related to predictive data analytics, mark yet another improper attempt by the administrative state to stifle innovation. While we strive to maintain positive and productive relationships with our regulators, if necessary, we will use our resources to contest this matter in the courts with the intent of both defending our crypto business and establishing regulatory clarity in the United States for the benefit of our customers. Yeah, exactly. And so I think one of the worst things that that you could do here, if it's not in your favor, it would be settling here. You know, remember Kraken settled? How'd that go for him? Not so hot, right? Now, in their case, you know, there's a question of if you literally don't have the funds necessary to fight the SEC and there's a certainty it's a losing battle, which is the case for a lot of smaller companies out there. I get that. I'm not so sure that was the case necessarily for Kraken, but they internally did their own analysis and decided it just wasn't worth the fight. It sounds like, from what Vlad's writing here, they're going to bring the fight to the SEC, which is what they need to do. You got to push back on this garbage. And so that was reposted by Coinbase co-founder and CEO Brian Armstrong. He reposted that and said, "Welcome to the club. You're in good company. The courts will help get clarity, but the right solution longer term is we need to elect pro-crypto candidates. This is why Coinbase has supported Fair Shake Super PAC and StandWithCrypto.org. Hope y'all can join us." And so I'll say this. I wasn't familiar with StandWithCrypto.org, this not-for-profit entity. This is their website here. But I'll just say this. And again, I know nothing about them. It's just on the screen because Brian Armstrong said something about it. It's a really good thing that there are tons of wealthy people in the world of crypto. And as you can see here, over $86 million has been donated to this not-for-profit entity. But it is true. We do need candidates that are pro-crypto. And that's directionally where this is all going to go. And you know, in the future, that'll just be par for the course. But in these earlier years, no, this is an absolute slugfest. Here's a post from Congressman John Rose. He wrote, the SEC exceeded its mandate to protect investors and maintain fair, orderly markets by issuing a Wells notice to Robinhood, a precursor to enforcement action. I'm proud to help lead the effort to provide clarity by passing the Fit for the 21st Century Act so that rogue regulators like Gary Gensler can focus on their mandate to protect investors and not disrupt innovation. And so people understand Gary Gensler has gone off the rails here. He obviously has. This is an all-out attack on crypto, and we in the XRP community, we were right when we were warning everybody years ago. Here's a post from Meta Lawman on April 10th. He wrote, ... and then they came for Uniswap. So it's been close to a month since the Uniswap thing happened. And then he reposted that yesterday and wrote ... and then they came for Robinhood. If you are involved in crypto but have not yet received your Wells notice, please be patient. The SEC will get to you as soon as they can. Thought that was pretty good. And indeed they will. They will absolutely get to him. Oh, man. And then, so Gary Gensler, unfortunately, this, poor excuse for a human being, he was on national television this morning on CNBC. Here's a headline from The Block. SEC Chair Gary Gensler says investors lack needed crypto disclosures following multiple Wells notices. Securities and Exchange Commissioner Chair Gary Gensler says investors are not getting vital crypto disclosures after the agency handed out notices to multiple crypto entities that it plans to bring enforcement actions against. Gensler was asked Tuesday morning on CNBC's Squawk Box about the agency's recent move to file a Wells notice against Robinhood Crypto, the crypto unit of the brokerage firm Robinhood Markets. The exchange said on Monday that the SEC staff had decided to recommend an enforcement action against the crypto unit alleging securities violations. Gensler said he couldn't speak to any one company. And he said, quote, stepping back from it, the field of crypto assets, without prejudging any one of them, many of those tokens are securities under the law of the land as interpreted by the U.S. Supreme Court. So we follow that law, and you, the investors, are not getting the required or needed disclosures about those assets. And so there you go. Gary Gensler on national television lying, saying that cryptocurrencies, just by the nature of them existing, they're securities. And so Paul Graywall, who is Coinbase's chief legal officer, he wrote the following on this matter. He said, please stop misleading the market. Tokens are not securities. Their pleadings notwithstanding, your own crypto attorneys have admitted this in court. And so that is true. And the SEC, absolutely, they speak out of both sides of their mouth. Well, take a look at the SEC v. Ripple case. That's my favorite example. They claimed that XRP itself is a security, and now they wouldn't word it like that. But that goes back to the whole embodiment theory, because XRP embodies those efforts from Ripple. It's the embodiment, which is equivalent to saying that XRP itself is a security. So they did argue that, but then they also acknowledged that after Judge Torres, when she ruled that XRP itself is not in and of itself is not a security on July 13th last year. After that, then the SEC said, well, yeah, it's just computer code with no inherent value. It's just computer. We're not saying that it's a security itself. So they have acknowledged it in court, but they still speak out both sides of their mouth. And they have, in subsequent instances, argued that the assets themselves are securities. They're still arguing that in specific cases while claiming that they're not. They think you're stupid. It's completely absurd what he's doing here. And then he was also talking about ETH. So as far as this idea of a spot ETH ETF, don't count on it. Not while Kim Jong Gensler's in charge. Check this out. Gensler didn't directly say how Ether would be classified when asked by CNBC whether it could be a security or a commodity. Quote, all I would say is, to me, the fundamental question is how do we ensure that the American investor is protected? Right now, they're not getting the required or needed disclosures, and the intermediaries in the center of this rather centralized market generally are conflicted and doing things we would never allow the New York Stock Exchange to do, end quote. So let's ask all of you out there listening, do you feel like you want what Gensler is calling protection here? Do you feel protected by this? Isn't it funny how this alleged protection is not wanted by anybody that's in this space, with rare exception? The only people that want it are the people who act disingenuously, like those ones that I highlighted this in a video the other day. The ones that recently brought another class action lawsuit. And it was against Coinbase, and that's because they made poor investment decisions. They didn't wait sufficiently long, and they lost on specific cryptocurrency. So then they claimed that Coinbase is breaking the law. So you can find those people, but they're bad people. Outside of that, you don't find anybody that thinks that this is a good thing or actually wants this. Then we've got, hold on, let me see here. We've got, let's just jump to the next topic. Those are the key takeaway points. So it's just completely absurd. There's been a lot of developments in recent days, but in the end, the SEC is going to lose because, like I said at the outside of the video, they're on the wrong side of history. So let's talk about the SEC v. Ripple lawsuit. Here's the headline again from the Crypto Basic. As SEC files new motion, expert sets date for Ripple lawsuit final verdict or settlement. The United States Securities and Exchange Commission has filed its final remedies-related reply brief and supporting exhibits in the Ripple lawsuit. Popular defense lawyer James Filan shared the development on X yesterday, stating that the motions are still sealed. According to Filan, the SEC's filing will remain sealed until May 8th, when a redacted version will be filed publicly. Notably, the SEC's and Ripple's lawyers will meet and confer today, May 7th, to identify necessary redactions before the documents are unsealed. Okay, so presumably that will indeed occur. There's no reason that it shouldn't. So I'll have an update for you, I'm sure, tomorrow, depending on the timing of when it comes out. But in all likelihood, I'll be able to cover that in a video tomorrow. But we really are down to the wire. Like, this is the end here. Anyway, piece continues. Although the SEC's reply remains sealed at press time, legal commentators expect the documents to counter Ripple's arguments in opposition to the regulator's opening remedies brief. Recall that the SEC asked the court to impose a nearly $2 billion fine against Ripple for violating federal securities laws via its institutional sales of XRP. This came up after Judge Annalisa Torres ruled last July that the San Francisco-based firm contravened securities laws by selling XRP to institutions in the past. In its opening remedies brief, the SEC also contended that an injunction be leveled against Ripple to prevent it from future violations. And folks, that's something that was always comical to me. So assuming that was the correct conclusion from the judge, and I'm not saying that it literally was, but it was found that Ripple broke the law in that regard, and part of what they want to happen is for Ripple to not do that again. Like, isn't that assumed? Like, isn't that why we just went to court in part to come to that conclusion? Like, don't do it again. Like, in what way is that useful to even write that down? That is the part that doesn't make sense. It's because whether you write that or don't write it, Ripple will do what they're going to do, and it would still be illegal if it's illegal. That doesn't change. I don't know. It just always seems silly to me. But anyway. As reported earlier, Ripple opposed the SEC's demands, stating that both an injunction and disgorgement are unwarranted. The crypto payments company argued that the SEC failed to illustrate the necessity for an injunction or disgorgement. Furthermore, Ripple noted that the civil penalty should not exceed $10 million instead of the $876 million the SEC seeks. Notably, the SEC is expected to counter Ripple's arguments, explaining why the court should grant its request over Ripple's. And it's completely egregious, considering, think about the dollar figure that the SEC is demanding here, and then think in your next thought that it is the case that nobody was financially harmed as a result of anything that Ripple did. Not their customers, not anybody out just speculating in the world of crypto. Nobody. And then they're actually pushing for a total of close to $2 billion. It's just insane. Anyway, meanwhile, the SEC's reply brief has elicited reactions among many XRP enthusiasts, with industry commentators projecting the potential timeline for a final resolution of the lawsuit. Outspoken XRP community figure Ashley Prosper projected that Judge Annalisa Torres would issue her final verdict between July and September 2024. Interestingly, he pointed out that the parties could reach an agreement and settle before the final verdict is issued. Prosper expressed determination to endure through the process, irrespective of the final resolution's path. Yeah, and so fine. I'll certainly acknowledge that there could be a settlement regarding the remedies portion of this lawsuit. I don't find that to be particularly probable because there's such a huge gap between what they think is reasonable. So in all likelihood, I think Judge Torres is just going to have to rule. And neither party will probably get exactly what they want, but I think Ripple's going to be closer to getting what they want as opposed to the SEC, which asked for $2 billion just about. It's completely absurd. So if you're talking about by the end of September, come to think of it, that's not far off from what Attorney Hogan was expecting too. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but fairly recently he was talking about this concluding. I thought he said like July to August. Maybe he said September too, actually. But it suffices to say, in the coming months, we are going to have this conclusion, and we'll find out if crypto markets care about this. We'll see if XRP goes up. And look, I've said many times in recent videos, I acknowledge that the market could respond, and XRP, if it's good news for Ripple, relatively speaking, or if it's perceived that way, okay, XRP price could go up. But my point is that is irrational, because that will have nothing to do with XRP. So I admit that the market could be irrational, but it shouldn't happen. XRP shouldn't go up because it doesn't matter. XRP already got the legal clarity in July of last year. That's the only part that matters. Not the remedies portion of the SEC v. Ripple lawsuit. It doesn't matter to us. So it'll be interesting to see if the market does respond, assuming it's not some sort of crazy, huge, penalty like the SEC one. So we're going to find out together. But we really are that close. And then, of course, there's always, like I said at the outset of the video, there's always that risk that there could be an appeal, and perhaps that's probable. But again, it doesn't matter for XRP holders. That, like, we got what we wanted. It's done. It's in the bag. We're good. And we're going into a bull season here. We're in a bull market. So just wait till we have the blow off top. Oh my God, it's going to be a fun time. We're finally going to get ours, right? I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.